It's interesting to see all of the drama that has happened in the first 6 months of President Trump being in office. As I watch the ICE raids and protest in Los Angeles, this comes to mind. White supremacy always breaks its tools. Well, today, we have another freedman Black American who has a strong message for the Latin community. Take a look.
Latinos for Trump. Specifically, Miami Cubans for Trump. Bring your ass. You bitches on my docket today. Y'all are the definition of political pygmies. You're so eager, like ready, willing, and fucking able to go from one dictator to the fucking next. Now, I know y'all not systematically accustomed to freedom, but trust me, it's a good thing. Now, when it comes to you white presenting Cubans, I can understand, whether it be you naturally look that way or, you got the work done. I can understand your delusion in terms of, having proximity to whiteness and thinking that you're going to get a seat at the table. And while you may get a seat, it is with the expressed understanding that the moment you act familiar, them envelopians going to put you in your place quick, fast, and in a motherfucking hurry by letting you know that you're simply a guest. But again, you look the part, so I can understand. But it's you Celia Cruz looking motherfuckers that blow me. Have you niggas looked in a fucking mirror? Like, let's keep it a fucking Goya bean in this bitch. The closest you're getting to a seat at the table is looking at that motherfucker through the window while you cutting the grass. Like, it is what the fuck it is. But since y'all think y'all got it like that, let's try a little experiment. When ICE roll up to collect you niggas, Elian Gonzalez style, I want you to look them square in the face. And I want you to say these 5 words to them. I know black eye Cuban. And let me know how the fuck it goes. Send me a postcard with Fidel on the fucking front. And when they send you back home, I hope you can't take shit with you but your fucking MAGA merch. As a permanent reminder that the president you voted for is the same president that sent you fucking packing. For decades, we've been trying to give y'all a wake-up call. I bet now you niggas wish you would have picked up the phone.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. openly supported Mexican farm workers in California, led by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, saying their fight for dignity was part of a larger struggle against economic injustice. Despite this solidarity, many immigrant communities have turned their backs on Black Americans once they gained access to resources, whiteness, or social mobility. After the 1959 Cuban Revolution, many Cubans were granted special immigration privileges and categorized as political refugees. With U.S. government help, they quickly gained access to housing loans, small business grants, and political clout. As they grew in power, many Cuban Americans in Miami aligned themselves with conservative politics, even supporting anti-Black policies. By the 1980s and 1990s, Black residents in Miami were openly complaining that Cuban officials and business owners excluded them from opportunities. In fact, during the 1980 Liberty City riots, many Black Miamians expressed frustration over job discrimination and political exclusion by Cuban immigrants. I have traveled and lived in different countries. What I have seen is that many countries, whether they are Latin, Asian, European, etc., racist behaviors are mainly covert actions, activities that are hidden or concealed, or overt actions, activities that are open, more in your face. Years ago, as I was on my journey of learning Spanish language, I used to watch several Spanish TV programs such as Sábado Gigante, Despierta America, 12 Corazones, and Primera Impacto, etc. While watching these shows through the years, I began to notice that these shows rarely, or if at all, had Afro-Latin people on the shows as host of shows or news anchors. That's when I started looking into the history of Latin American countries. On this Mahogany Culture and Travel channel, I have done a video about the history of Black people in Mexico that you can look at, that speaks further on the ancient history of Afro-Mexicans. Since the 1910 Mexican Revolution, people of African descent in Mexico were largely excluded from official documentation and national identity. In Mexico, there is a popular expression of mejorar la raza, a phrase that is used in Latin American countries, which means improve the race. It implies that you should marry or have children with a whiter person so you'll have better-looking kids. La raza has historically been used to refer to the mixed-race populations, primarily, though not always exclusively in the Western Hemisphere. For over a century, Mexico maintained a racial ideology known as mestizaje, which promoted the idea of a mixed-race national identity that primarily included indigenous and Spanish ancestry. This ideology effectively erased the presence and contributions of Afro-Mexicans from the country's history and identity. It was not until 2015 that Mexico officially recognized Black Mexicans as citizens of Mexico in a national census, acknowledging them as citizens with distinct Afro-descendant heritage. This was a significant milestone, as it allowed for Afro-Mexicans to be counted in demographic data, leading to a greater push for their rights and inclusion in national policies. However, racism and colorism remain major issues across Latin America, including in Mexico, Brazil, Honduras, Venezuela, and other countries. Many Latin American nations have deeply ingrained anti-Black biases due to their colonial histories, where African enslavement was brought in to work on plantations, mines, and other labor-intensive industries. Despite the abolition of slavery in the 19th century, racial hierarchies persisted, favoring lighter-skinned individuals and reinforcing discrimination against those of African descent. In many Latin American countries, a racial and social hierarchy exists where white or lighter-skinned individuals of Spanish descent hold the most power, wealth, and influence, while darker-skinned individuals, including Afro-descendants and indigenous people, often face systemic discrimination and economic marginalization. Although Mexico has an Afro-descendant population, the government historically confined them to certain regions, often keeping them out of national consciousness. The majority of Afro-Mexicans live in the states of Guerrero, Veracruz. Veracruz is a historic port city where enslaved Africans were brought. Oaxaca and Costa Chica, a coastal region spanning Guerrero and Oaxaca with high concentrations of Afro-Mexicans. These areas have historically been underdeveloped, with poor infrastructure, limited job opportunities, and a lack of government investment. The deliberate neglect of these communities has contributed to the continued marginalization of Black Mexicans. Many Afro-Mexicans in these regions have limited political representation, experience racial profiling, and face difficulties in accessing education and healthcare. In countries like Brazil, where the largest population of Afro-descendants outside Africa resides, systemic racism manifests in disparities in education, employment, and police violence. In Mexico, Afro-Mexicans have historically faced exclusion from political representation, economic opportunities, and social recognition. In Honduras, Garifuna communities, Afro-Indigenous peoples, have suffered from land displacement and violence. In Venezuela, despite a history of Black resistance, Afro-Venezuelans often experience discrimination in social and economic structures. Due to these systemic and cultural issues, Black travelers and expatriates should be cautious when visiting or moving to Latin American countries. While many regions are welcoming, the persistence of racism can affect access to services, treatment by authorities, and general safety. Racial profiling, economic disadvantages, and exclusion from opportunities can make it challenging for Black individuals to navigate these societies. Understanding the history of colonization and its lasting effects can help prepare those who plan to travel or relocate to Latin America, ensuring that they are aware of both the beauty and the challenges that come with experiencing these countries. Tell me what you think about this topic. Hope you find the information in this video informative. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment. Thanks for watching.